Very early on the first day they're taking a taxi. About 45 minutes from their home in Cochrane to Calgary's airport. Once going up the big hill on Highway 1A, they are on their way. They have to drive past Glen Eagles. They have to drive past Bear's Paw. They have to drive past 12 Mile. They have to drive the off-ramp on Stony Trail. They have to drive past Country Hills. They have to drive past Sarcee Trail. They have to drive past Shaganappi Trail. They have to drive past Beddington Trail. They have to drive past 14th Street. They have to drive past Harvest Hills. They then turn onto Highway 2. They then go onto Airport Trail. Then they finally arrive at Calgary's airport. They will be flying today with WestJet from Calgary's airport to Vancouver, British Columbia. The flight is about 1 hour and 30 minutes, but because of the time zone change, it will only be a 30-minute flight due to clocks being turned back 1 hour in British Columbia. So it won't take up much of their day. So now they lift off of the runway in Calgary, and they are on their way to Vancouver. Up, up, and higher up they will go. Eventually they will have to fly at high altitudes over a mountain named Mount Assiniboine. They will eventually fly over the Kootenays, and Kootenay National Park. They have to fly over the world-famous Rocky Mountains. They are the border between Alberta, Canada, and British Columbia, Canada. These mountains can be as tall as 3,954 meters, which is 12,972 feet above sea level. The plane itself will be flying about 6 to 8,000 feet above that. Then they have to fly over the Okanagan Valley. Next they will be flying over Bear Creek Provincial Park. Eventually they will reach the furthest west coast of Canada, and fly over the Greater Vancouver area. They have to fly past the coast towards the ocean, then turn around to face the airport, because of all the buildings everywhere being in the way of the planes. Greater Vancouver is a large city of over 2.5 million people. It's an insanely huge and massive city. It goes on for what feels like forever in all directions. They are now arriving towards the Vancouver airport. Time to fasten seatbelts, chew gum so our ears pop and depressurize, and prepare for landing. Finally they arrive at the Vancouver airport, and now have to find their way to their next adventure towards getting to Victoria Island. Now they have to take the BC Ferries Connector coach bus. It will take them from the Vancouver airport, to a ferry boat. The very large ferry boat will cross the ocean through the Gulf Islands, to Vancouver Island. Then after leaving the ferry at the other end, the same coach will take them to downtown Victoria. They will have to pass through Templeton Street. They will then have to cross the Moray Bridge. They will then drive through the Garden City area. The Fraser River is quite big, so they are going to have to take a tunnel under it, to get to the other side. Eventually they will turn onto Highway 17A. Then after a while they will go onto Delta Portway. Then there is the final stretch of road that goes far out into the ocean, where the water is deep enough to meet up with the BC ferry docks. Finally they make it to the ferry terminal, and have to get in line with hundreds of other vehicles to wait for the next ferry. The ferries wait for nobody. They unload rather quickly, then load the next batch of vehicles and people reasonably quickly as well, and head back the other way. They make a few trips per day. So now it's time to get on the ferry. The BC ferry can carry 2,100 people and also the many crew members. It has 5 decks in total, that include restaurants, coffee shops, gift shops, and other stores. It also carries all those people's vehicles. As you can see, Deck 2 has 8 lanes for cars. 4 lanes on the left, and 4 lanes on the right. From front to back of the ferry, it can hold 358 cars in total. Below that deck, is Deck 1. This deck has 6 lanes. 3 lanes on the left, and 3 lanes on the right. This deck is multi-purpose, so no definite number of vehicles it can hold. This deck is for 18-wheel semi-trucks, coach buses, school buses, recreation vehicles with boat trailers, extra cars, farm equipment, or whatever fills the space that's left. The ferry is now full and getting ready to go. There are 179 cars on the left. There are 179 cars on the right. There are stairs and about 3 elevators spread out in different areas in the center. Then below that all the trucks, trailers, buses, and whatever else can fit onto the ferry boat, before sealing up the watertight doors in the bottom of the boat. The very large and massive doors on both the car deck and the truck deck now slowly close with motorized hydraulics. They then pressurize together to make a watertight seal. Then the decks are pressured with air to keep the water out. Now they are finally leaving Vancouver, and on their way to Victoria Island. It is about 1.5 hours of a trip. Now would be an excellent time to get some lunch. There are coffee shops, cafeterias and other places to get food and drink. They can also check out the clothing shop and souvenirs. If they get bored, there's even video arcades on the ferry as well. Once done with all that, they can hurry outside before the Gulf Islands, to get a good seat outside on the deck, so they can enjoy the beautiful panoramic views from the ferry as they pass through the Gulf Islands. They then must cross the Strait of Georgia out in open salt water for a while before reaching the Gulf Islands. They are now approaching the Gulf Islands. Because they are sitting outside now, on one of the side decks with railings, they will see views that will take your breath away, if it's your first time ever there. Rhiannon has never been in a big boat or on the ocean. She's going to love this. It's like going through the mountains, except you're not in a car on ground, you are on a boat on salt water. If they are lucky, they might see a whale. If they are lucky they might see dolphins. It may not happen every ferry trip, but it does happen sometimes. When entering the Gulf Islands, they have to go past Lighthouse Point. Also far off in the back of this picture is Mount Rainier in the United States. The US is not that far south from here. Then the ferry has to go by Bellhouse Provincial Park. Then the ferry has to go between the island of Maine and Galiano Island. At the midpoint of the trip, they will pass the ferry boat heading the opposite direction, on its way from Victoria to Vancouver. It passes by so close, you can not only see the passengers on the other ferry, but you can wave to them as well to say hello in passing. The two ships keep blowing horns and air whistles through this narrow passage, so as to not collide into one another, always knowing where the other is. Especially in bad weather or dense fog. The ferry then goes between the island of Prévost and Pender Island. They then go between the island of Salt Spring and Portland Island. Near the end of the trip, they have one more island to go around. They have to curve around Piers Island and head for the Swartz Bay terminal of Victoria. The captain of the ferry then comes on all over the ferry through the intercoms. He or she tells everyone it is now time to return back to their vehicles, as they will soon be approaching the Swartz Bay terminal of Victoria. The car and truck levels depressurize. The large hydraulic doors unlock and open. Then a ramp from the ferry connects to the ferry platforms on both decks, and the vehicles then exit the ship. About 1 hour and 30 minutes later, depending on weather, the ferry finally makes it across to the Swartz Bay ferry terminal on the northeastern part of Victoria Island. Now that they are back on the same shuttle bus as before, they exit out of the bowels of the ferry boat, and are on their way towards downtown Victoria, British Columbia. They have to pass by the North Saanich Marina and Royal Victoria Yacht Club. They have to travel on the Patricia Bay Highway, through both North Sydney BC and North Saanich BC. They have to drive past the Victoria International Airport. They have to drive past the shores of Newman Park Beach. They will then drive by the Mitchell Pumpkin Farms. Their coach bus will drive past the beautiful Elk Beaver Lake Regional Park. They will then leave Sunnock BC, and their coach will head south, towards the Victoria Highway. They will then drive past what is known as the Swan Lake Loop. They will now be heading into Victoria, BC, which is the capital city of the province, with a population of over 402,000. They are now entering into the downtown area of the city. They are getting close to where they are going. Their coach shuttle bus then drops them off at the capital city station, in the center of downtown Victoria. Now that they are in downtown Victoria, they need to walk around the corner to go and catch a local city transit bus. They need to take the city transit bus to their bed and breakfast inn at number 1 Cook Street in the Fairfield neighborhood, right on the edge of the Salish Sea inlet of the ocean. It is about a 13-minute ride from downtown Victoria. About 6 blocks north of their bed and breakfast inn, there is Cook Street Village. It is a neighborhood shopping district. There is an abundance of cafes, restaurants, pubs, and numerous boutique grocery shops. There is Mama Nadia's Kitchen, which is an assortment of East Indian food. There is the Village Taverna, which is a great assortment of Greek food. There is the Pizzeria Prima Strata, with their wood-burning clay oven, pasta, pizza, and other Italian foods. They also serve gelato ice cream. There is the Beagle Pub, for the later evenings, when the rest of the places are closed already for the night. They have some really fancy foods, that you wouldn't expect, considering it's a bar and eatery. There is also the Thunderbird Korean fried chicken place. So as you can see, for the 5 days they will be in Victoria, they have plenty of places to choose from. If they get home very late on a day out, where these places may be already closed, delivery is also an option since downtown restaurants are not really that far away either for a driver to deliver them. It's now time to get off the transit bus. We are almost there. The transit bus only takes them so far, so they will have to walk about 4 blocks towards the waterfront area, where their bed and breakfast inn will be right on the corner facing the ocean, and the famous Beacon Hill Park will be right across the street to the right. Finally they make it to Dashwood Manor, a seaside bed and breakfast inn. The ocean is across the street as you can see, and across the other street is the famous Beacon Hill Park. This was a Victorian home built in 1912, and was converted into a bed and breakfast in 1978. Rhiannon and Uriel will be staying in the suite that you see with the balcony, it's on the top floor in the middle. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic still out there, especially in tourist towns and cities of port with cruise ships and the like, the front door will be locked, but they will be given a code the night before. Above the fireplace in the grand hallway will be a plate of rose petals, and a welcome letter in it for all new guests arriving that day. It tells you about the place, where your room is located, and where to get your keys, for a contact-free check-in. Their top-floor penthouse suite, in this Victorian home, comes with a balcony facing east towards the ocean and Cloverleaf Point. They will have a large kitchenette with a bar fridge, sink, cupboards and a desk. They will have a living space with a TV, a dresser, Wi-Fi internet, side tables and chairs, and a king-size sleeping area, with side tables and antique lamps. It has a vaulted ceiling with beams everywhere, and hanging chandeliers. They will also have an unbelievably large bathroom with a walk-in shower, a large soaker tub, a makeup vanity and mirror, and more. It's massive. This romantic suite is so big, it takes up 1/4 of the top floor of this building, all to itself. In fact, just the bathroom alone is almost as big as the entire 2-bedroom apartment they live in, back in Cochrane, Alberta. It's truly that big. Imagine seeing this view every day for just under a week. That is exactly what they will see daily during their stay. Look at the size of this place. And this is only 1/3 of their room. There is more to it. The view of the ocean can be seen from the king-sized bed. In fact, the entire outside wall is all windows, so you can actually see the ocean from just about anywhere in the room. Because they are facing east, they will be able to watch the sun rise over the ocean every morning. Here is looking towards the entry of the room, from across the king-sized bed, looking the other way. You can also see a coat closet pictured here. This view also shows how there is the floating ceiling, as well as the actual rafters, and another ceiling above that one. In this picture you see the bar fridge next to the balcony door in the bottom left of the photo. Cupboards with a sink. A coffee maker with 2 cups. A blue leather directory book of Dashwood Manor Bed and Breakfast Inn. As well as a desk that goes a bit behind the bedroom wall. There are also antique pictures hanging on the wall. The wooden king-sized bed frame is very old in this place as well. The beds are much thicker and much higher than modern-day beds. High above the king-sized bed is a vaulted ceiling with rafters and copper pipes for the sprinkler fire safety protocols. There are two lights along the wall above the bed shining down, not seen here because the bottom beam is blocking it from view, as well as a chandelier hanging down, over the living room part of the room, in front of the large windows. Wow! Just wow! Look at the size of this bathroom. You might notice you don't see a toilet. That is because you're only looking one direction, into this bathroom, and sadly, I don't have a photo to show you, of the other direction. I can describe it though. The toilet is just left of the camera. On the right, where it is not seen in this photo, is an orange brick, and red brick large pillar, going right from floor to ceiling, through the bathroom. It's from a fireplace downstairs. The camera view, is from the door. There is a very large walk-in shower. A big soaker tub. A sink with mirror. A makeup vanity desk. A dresser on our side, with towels and linens. There is a window, overlooking the ocean. This 1912 Victorian bed and breakfast inn, is just absolutely stunning everywhere. In the morning there is staff, to make everyone's breakfast, and to clean the rooms of those checking out. There is an office in the front lobby pictured here. But in the evenings, the only people here are the guests. Of course there is a number to call in case of any emergencies if one should happen. There is a real cozy sitting room, with a real wood-burning fireplace. With a view of the ocean. This is the main floor hallway, with the grand staircase at the back. Halfway up the stairs of this three-floor building, is a beautiful stained glass window. Here is another hallway, in a different section, of this 1912 Victorian building. Every morning, gourmet chefs come in, and make breakfast for all the guests in the main dining room. It has a fireplace, and old pictures everywhere. Also there is a desk, with information about excursions and events people can take in and around Victoria. The breakfast food here, has been rated, as unbelievably good, by any guests who have ever stayed here. Also the staff keep fresh flowers, and other live plants throughout the entire building, rooms, hallways, window ledges, and everywhere else. They take very good care of the building and the guests. Most of the reviews of this place are between 4 to 5 stars, with many guests who return regularly. This bed and breakfast inn, is also rated as one of the top bed and breakfast places, in all of Canada. Not only does the dining room have a fireplace, but it also has a large window, with a stained glass top, with views of the ocean, which is literally right across the street. There is also a telescope in the corner of the room, and guests often see cruise ships coming and going in the harbors, as well as whales and other wildlife in the ocean. You can also sit in this room in the evening drinking a coffee or tea, and watch the sunset over the water. What a beautiful place to stay, for the 5 days that Rhiannon and Uriel will be in Victoria. It will be a honeymoon vacation, of a lifetime. Something they will never forget, and always cherish. Now that Uriel and Rhiannon have checked in, it will only be about 3:30 p.m. of that afternoon. There is still time to go out, and do some exploring of the surrounding area, before turning in for the first night. They will still have about 5 hours, before sunset. So let's go exploring. It is still early afternoon, and Uriel and Rhiannon have about 5 or so hours left of their day, so let's go on an adventure. Literally right across the street, from Dashwood Manor, Bed and Breakfast Inn's front door, is the Beacon Hill Park. So let's go there first. After crossing the street, they enter Beacon Hill Park, by walking along a path through very tall, and old trees. This path is known as Lover's Lane. Just imagine the two of them, holding hands, and enjoying a romantic walk together, for the whole afternoon, and evening. It has been about 17 years, since this couple has ever gone away somewhere, or any kind of vacation, or any kind of getaway, so this was a much needed break, from everyday life. Their last vacation was far back in 2007. Plus their last vacation had other people along, that were the drivers and guests. After 19 years of marriage, this is truly their first time going somewhere, completely alone together. It is exactly what these two lovebirds need, at this point in their lives. Once they come out of the thick trees, and into a clearing, they will then walk past Cherry Tree Grove. Here there will be trees with intense colors of flowers in bloom. Especially the fact that they will be there in April. There will be bright pink, light blues, lavender flowers, and all kinds of colors. It's just so beautiful. A short distance away, they will then see the world's tallest totem pole. Pictured here is only 2/3 of it. It goes much higher, and much lower than this picture. They will walk across a field, and then see the Lquagen spindle. It's a monument to the first peoples in the area, before white settlers took over their land. Once they reach the top of Beacon Hill, the view up there, over the Salish Sea inlet of the ocean, is absolutely amazing. Across the water, you see the Olympic Mountains, with Mount Rainier, as seen from Victoria, BC. This is a panoramic view of the Olympic Mountains, which are in Washington State, United States. At the center of the top of the hill, there is a very large flagpole. This pole is so tall, that there is airplane cables attached to it and then anchored to the ground in several directions to hold it up, and stop it from swaying. The Canadian flag on it is massive and can be seen from far out in the water. Going down the backside of the hill, and walking deeper into the park, they will come across a children's petting zoo. It's all run by volunteers and donations from guests who go there. Across the path. And now heading northeast in the park, they will come to the Rose Garden. A caged-in place to protect it from wild animals from eating its petals. Inside this large caged garden, is roses of every color, and of every kind. Still heading north along the trails, they will eventually see a large garden, with the sundial in the middle of it. It is known as the Sun Clock Garden. In the far northeast edge of the park, there is a garden. But this one is different. It is not flowers. It is trees, bushes, and other plants. This is known as the Alpine Society Garden. There are little stone steps that guide you through it. Now heading west. There is next the McTavish Island Pond. They will walk along the north edge of it. As they continue on, there will be ponds all around them in all directions. Some even have logs, with little turtles crawling, sunbathing, and sleeping all over them. There will also be all kinds of birds and other wildlife animals around. One thing Beacon Hill Park is famous for, is their peacocks. They are in all kinds of vibrant colors, and seen all over the park. Now it's time to start heading south, on the opposite side of the park, and slowly work their way back towards the Salish Sea inlet of the ocean. So now they're going from the northwest corner of Beacon Hill Park, and heading to the southwest part of the park. To do so, they first have to cross a stone bridge that you see here, and cross back into the park from the outside edge trails of the north outer edge of the park. Later down the trail a ways, and behind a stage, grandstand area, and in some thick trees, they will come upon Gaia, the Moss Lady, sleeping in the forest. A stone statue, covered in thick, lush, green moss. You saw the beautiful ponds with fountains in the north. Now as you go south, the water becomes flowing streams, and tiny waterfalls, that flow alongside the walking paths through a forest. They are truly beautiful, and pictures don't do them any justice. Now that they are exiting the park, in the southwest corner, and heading back towards the Salish Sea, inlet of the ocean, they start walking south down Douglas Street. Along the edge of the park, they come upon a very large watering can, that is both a fountain, and a water park. A place for kids to cool off on a hot summer day. The last things to see, before crossing the street, back to the oceanic bike trails, along the Salish Sea, is a statue of Terry Fox. He fundraised many years ago, by literally walking across Canada. He started on the Trans-Canada Highway in Victoria, and walked across many provinces. At the very edge of the park as you leave, is a sign that reads Ground Zero. This is where Terry Fox started his journey across Canada. How cool is that, to be standing in the place where it all began? A great man, a great sacrifice, a great Canadian hero. Now Rhiannon and Uriel cross the street, and start walking west, on the oceanic bike trails. As soon as they cross the street, they see an anchor statue. After walking for a few minutes, they will take a trail down lower, and take a bit of a walk on Steve Fonio Beach. Rhiannon will be able to put her hands in the salt water, if she wants to. Be warned though, the Salish Sea is very cold this time of year. Walking further still, going west on the bike trails between Dallas Road and the Salish Sea, they will come up upon the Dallas Road Staircase. An oceanic lookout that was painted really nice by a local artist. They will eventually come upon the Ogden Point sundial. This sundial uses you, yourself, as the way to tell time. You match your feet with the footprints in a square, then point your arm out straight in front of you. Your shadow of your arm will tell you the time with 100% accuracy. How cool is that? Now it's time to walk far, out into the ocean. Am I joking? No, I am not. It's quite the walk out there. It's time to walk out onto the stone breakwater bridge. It's called breakwater, because it stops large waves during violent storms, from entering the bay, disturbing cruise ships parked in the bay, and controls water levels as to not flood the downtown area just around the corner. Also, this stone wall not only stops water, and holds it back, but it is also where you will find the Unity Wall mural, where first people painted murals all along this stone bridge. So why would you want to walk so far out into the ocean on this stone bridge? The next photo will show you. At the end of this very long concrete and stone walkway, called the breakwater, is something very special. Why? Because it's more than one thing. It's several things. There is the breakwater lighthouse. There is cruise ships parked only feet away on your right. There are whales swimming by. You can see the cargo ships coming and going into the bay, and also, you are much closer to the view of Mount Rainier and the Olympic Mountains across the water in the United States. Is that a good reason to walk out there? Uriel and Rhiannon think so. Now it is time to start heading back the other way. It will be starting to get dark soon. They need to start heading home, back to their bed and breakfast in. Going this way, they will travel on the bike trail next to the street, rather than the trail by the ocean. Along the way they will see Harrison's Model Yacht Club pond. A pond for remote-controlled boats of all kinds. From ships to sailboats to remote-controlled speedboats. It has miniature docks, lighthouses, boat gas stations, and all sorts of little lake figurines. It's really cute. Once they make it back to Douglas Street, and where the Terry Fox statues, from earlier in this tour, are across the street, they now turn back to the trails that are closer to the ocean again. Eventually in some bushes, along the trail, they will see, the twinning of Morioka and Victoria Monument. Further along the trail, they eventually walk up to, the Marilyn Bell Monument. Now they have made it back to the bed and breakfast inn. But they are not going home yet. Why not? Because Uriel has saved the best for last. What did he save? Well, we will just have to see, won't we? So let's continue on today's journey. Pictured here is the ocean view right across the street from where they are staying. They will see this view every time they leave the bed and breakfast inn, and every time they come home. How beautiful is that? That's why Uriel picked this romantic place. Is that the best for last? Nope. Let's keep going. The couple, Uriel and Rhiannon, now go down some stairs to the beach right in front of their bed and breakfast. Uriel has two surprises for Rhiannon. This is the first one. A walk along Spiral Beach towards Cloverleaf Point. But there is something special about this walk. If it's a clear night, and they're lucky, things will be very special. It will now be dusk, and the sun going down. As they walk along the water, the tide is now at its lowest, so the most beach. The water will go yellow, then green, then pink, then fire red as the sun goes down. The water gets really intense in Victoria if the weather is right for it. Then Uriel's finale of the night will be in the next photo. The most romantic evening of their trip, and it's only the first night. And now for Uriel's romantic finale for his wife Rhiannon. Watching the sun, set over the Salish Sea inlet, of the ocean, at 8:15 p.m., before heading home after a very, very, long day. Now how romantic is that? Okay, now it's time to head home. The bed and breakfast inn, is only a few blocks away. Also this Cloverleaf Point lookout, is the piece of land curling out into the ocean, that you see from the window of their room. It's just looking the other direction. It's been a long day. It is now too late at night to go out for supper at a location. So they will have to order in pizza. So Rhiannon? Did you have fun? Was it romantic? Were you excited? Well, here is a thought for you. All of that was just day one. You still have 4 more days of this honeymoon vacation. More excitement is in store for you.